Right now, as you're watching this, a city of 22 million people is sinking. Not a little, not slowly, almost a foot every single year. NASA just confirmed it. They can literally see it from space. And here's the wild part. Most people think they know why. They're wrong. The real reason started over 700 years ago with a prophecy, an eagle, a snake, and one of the most insane engineering projects in human history. By the end of this video, you will understand something that most geologists take years to piece together. So don't go anywhere, because this story is absolutely insane. Okay, so let's go back, way back. We're talking the year 1325 AD. A group of wandering Mesoamerican people called the Mexica, you probably know them better as the Aztecs, have been wandering around central Mexico for what feels like forever. They're looking for a sign, a divine omen from their god Huitzilopochtli, who told them, "Find an eagle perched on a cactus, devouring a snake, and that is where you build your city." Now think about how absurd this sounds. You're a civilization leader. You're searching for an eagle on a cactus. But here's the thing. They actually found it on a small, swampy, marshy island right in the middle of Lake Texcoco. And instead of going, maybe not the island in the swamp, they went ahead and built a city there. They called it Tenochtitlan. And by the time the Spanish arrived in 1519, it had 200,000 to 300,000 people. That made it larger than Rome, larger than Paris, and larger than London at that time. On an island, in a lake, at over 7,000 feet above sea level. So how do you build a massive city on a swampy island? The Aztecs invented, or heavily perfected, a system called Chinampas. Essentially, man-made rectangular plots of land built right on top of the lake's shallow floor. They basically terraformed their own island. When Spanish explorer Hernán Cortés first laid eyes on Tenochtitlan in 1519, his soldier, Bernal Díaz del Castillo, wrote, and I'm paraphrasing, "We were amazed. Some of our soldiers asked whether what we saw was not a dream." The Spaniards compared it to Venice and Constantinople. And here's what I want you to hold on to, because this is the key to everything. The entire city was built on a lake, a soft, spongy, clay-rich, waterlogged lake bed. The Aztecs knew this. They designed their buildings to be relatively light and flexible. The people who came after them? Not so much. Actually, real quick, before we get into what the Spanish did to this incredible city, I want to know something. Drop it in the comments right now. Would you rather live in Tenochtitlan, the ancient Aztec floating island city, or modern Mexico City? No wrong answers. I'm genuinely curious. Okay, back to it. Because things are about to get real ugly. So, 1521. Hernán Cortés and a coalition of Spanish forces and indigenous allies conquered Tenochtitlan. And what did the Spanish decide to do with arguably the greatest city in the Western Hemisphere? They knocked most of it down, stone by stone. They built their own colonial city right on top of the ruins. And the Metropolitan Cathedral, which still stands today, they literally built it using stones quarried from the demolished Aztec temples. Construction started in 1573. Now here's where the real problem begins. Tenochtitlan was designed for a lake. The Spanish were not going to live on a lake, so they started draining it. Not all at once, bit by bit, over decades, then centuries. The first major drainage project was authorized in 1607, but the lake kept flooding. In 1629, a catastrophic flood kept most of Mexico City underwater for 5 straight years. 5 years, people. The city was basically an indoor pool for 5 years. The Spanish response was to drain more lake. Major drainage works continued through the 1800s and into the 1900s. The last significant remnants of Lake Texcoco weren't fully dried out until the mid-20th century. One of the most ecologically vital water systems in the Americas, gone. When you have a lake with clay-rich sediment, that clay is saturated with water. The water is doing an important job. It is holding up the structure of the clay from within. Remove the water, the clay begins to compress. Think of it like squeezing a wet sponge. As the water comes out, the sponge gets smaller, and everything sitting on top of that ground goes down with it. This process is called subsidence, and in Mexico City, it is happening on a scale that is almost incomprehensible. The city has sunk over 30 feet in the last 100 years. 30 feet. That is the height of a 3-story building. And it's not slowing down. A NASA study released in 2026, using data from the joint US-India NISAR satellite, showed that some parts of Mexico City are sinking at nearly 10 inches per year. In the most extreme areas, the ground is dropping at almost an inch a month. Per month. Visible from space. Below Mexico City, you have an ancient aquifer, a massive underground reservoir that formed over thousands of years, filled with water that filtered down through the mountains surrounding the Valley of Mexico. Mexico City's 22 million residents rely on it for roughly 60% of their drinking water. Every day, millions of pumps pull water up from the ground. When you pump water out of an aquifer, you create a pressure drop. The water was acting like a cushion between the grains of clay and sediment. Pull it out, the cushion collapses, the layers compress, and everything sinks. And here's what makes this particularly horrifying. It's not even happening uniformly. Some areas sit on old lakebed clay and sink rapidly. Others sit on solid volcanic rock and barely move. This is called differential subsidence, and it is absolutely catastrophic for infrastructure. As the city sinks, underground water pipes crack and burst. Millions of gallons of fresh water pour into the sewage system and are lost. So the city needs to pump more water from the aquifer. More pumping means more subsidence. More subsidence means more cracked pipes. Around and around it goes. And here's the really wild thing. Mexico City gets more rainfall per year than London or Seattle. Way more. The problem isn't a lack of water from the sky. It's that when the Aztec lakes were drained, the natural water storage system was destroyed. The rain runs off the pavement and gets pumped out as fast as possible. Now, if you want a single symbol of everything wrong with building a megacity on a drained lakebed, look no further than the Mexico City Metropolitan Cathedral, the largest cathedral in the Americas. Construction started in 1573 and wasn't finished until 1813. 240 years of construction. The cathedral weighs approximately 127,000 tons of stone. That's a lot of weight for a clay lakebed. And different sections of the building sit on soil with different densities, which means different sections sink at different rates. By 1989, the heavier bell tower end had sunk nearly 8 feet deeper than the rear. Engineers did something almost absurdly counterintuitive to fix it. Instead of propping up the sinking end, which was impossible, they deliberately excavated soil from the stable end of the cathedral to make it sink more. They leveled it by lowering the part that wasn't sinking to match the part that was. And the cathedral isn't even the only leaning building in the city. The Palace of Fine Arts, the Palacio de Bellas Artes, has sunk so deeply that you now have to walk down steps to enter a building that was originally at street level when it was built. In Mexico City, the street comes to you. So where does this all leave us? Is Mexico City just doomed? Well, here's where it gets complicated, and honestly, kind of fascinating. Scientists are very clear on one thing. The compaction of the ancient lake clay is essentially irreversible. Researchers project that the ground will continue to compact for approximately another 150 years, potentially adding another 30 meters of sinkage on top of what's already happened. Even if you stopped pumping water from the aquifer tomorrow, the clay would keep compressing. The physics don't care about your timeline. But, and this is the hopeful part, you can slow it down dramatically. Mexico City's government has been working on water recycling programs, investing in infrastructure to capture and reuse rainwater, and working to reduce dependence on the underground aquifer. The goal is to stop making it worse. Some researchers have proposed something even more ambitious, injecting treated water back into the aquifer to partially repressurize it, essentially trying to refill the cushion that was removed. It won't undo the damage, but it could slow the rate of compaction significantly for future generations. Here's the full irony. Mexico City gets more rainfall than London or Seattle. The valley is actually quite rainy, but the Aztec lakes that stored that rain, gone. The drainage infrastructure the Spanish built 400 years ago was specifically designed to push water away from the city as fast as possible, and it's still doing exactly that.
And every major city in the world should be paying attention, because Mexico City isn't the only place where the ground beneath a major population center is being depleted. Jakarta was sinking so fast, they literally announced they're moving their capital to a different island. Houston sinks. Shanghai sinks. Phoenix is watching its aquifers drain in real time.
Mexico City is just the most extreme, most visible example, the one NASA can now track from orbit. 700 years of choices, one very slowly sinking city, 22 million people watching the ground disappear beneath their feet, half an inch at a time. That's not a natural disaster. That's history. That's geology. That's what happens when you build a civilization without fully understanding the ground it stands on. It's a warning shot, and whether anyone listens is, as always, a very human question. If this blew your mind even a little bit, hit share. Seriously. Most people have no idea this is happening, and this is one of those stories that genuinely deserves more attention. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I actually read them all. And if you want to go deeper, we did a full episode on Jakarta and why Indonesia is literally moving its entire capital city to escape the same fate. That one's right here. I'll see you there.